4-6. Orochimaru cautiously observed his surroundings for any sign of movement or hearing of sound. Despite being alone in the corridor, his senses were screaming that there was another hiding in the shadows. He could feel it, the foul, dark presence. A truly wicked aura was present everywhere waiting to strike. He had even taunted the invisible enemy hoping to get a response, but received none in return. So, they have brains as well. The way they infiltrated the base, made my team and guards disappear. They must be Anbu or at least high Jonin level shinobi, deduced Orochimaru. He had little doubt regarding the identity of the enemy. Nobody except for his comrades were aware about the experimentation going on the captured Uzumaki children. The only people who could take offense to such a method and retaliate this brutally would be survivors of the same clan. Yet he had been informed that apart from the captured children, the rest of the Uzumaki clan was dead. Clearly, he had been kept in the dark. And now he had Anbu-class soldiers attacking his precious research. You know you can't escape from here. I'll find you, promised Orochimaru. Again no response. It seemed that normal threats were useless against this foe, so it was time to resort to other tricks. Orochimaru would have no hesitation in attacking this foe, and needed just a hint as to their exact location. And then he would strike in a flash. You know, for a clan praised to be as strong as the Uchiha and Senju, the Uzumaki turned out to be nothing but sheep, cowards who got slaughtered easily, taunted Orochimaru. Hiding in the shadows that were covering his body, Naruto kept his emotions in check. Easy to say, hard to practice. His power was a double-edged sword. The dark release gained power through the emotions and foul chakra inside him. The more darker his feelings, the more powerful he would become. But with that came the risk of losing control and exposing yourself wide in the open. Naruto had lost control many times in his life, and every time he had to wake up and see a river blood created by his own hands. While he didn't feel guilty since this power was not something he wanted but was forced on him, he didn't enjoy killing. Yet he did that dark act for the sake of his village and clan. One of whom was completely gone and the other was barely left. Contrary to popular beliefs, he did feel emotions. Happiness, anger, sadness, fury, and worst of all hatred. But unlike others, he didn't have the liberty to express them freely. It was not a choice but a necessity. His special power did grant him an unnatural advantage, but were also the cause for his miserable, isolated life. Despite that, he hadn't wasted much time of his life on cursing fate. That would be a terrible waste of time, and as a shinobi Naruto was not expected to live a long life. So why waste time on dwelling about something on which he had no control over? Yet the accusations of this man stung. For there was a hint of bitter truth in them. His clan had been too trusting, too absorbed within itself while ignoring the dangerous developments in the chaotic ninja world. And ultimately they paid a catastrophic price for it. Except for barely 50 children, the Uzumaki had been all but wiped out from the face of the earth. Never again, thought Naruto bitterly. You fools valued peace so much and thought that non-alignment with any major powers would keep you safe. There can be no peace among humanity, much less the shinobi world. The weak can find a place to live in this world, but the same is not the case with fools, taunted Orochimaru again. Naruto's eyes momentarily widened as the realization hit him. This man, despite being an enemy, was only saying the bitter facts which Naruto had been trying to ignore till now. His dream of peace lay shattered upon the corpses of his deceased clan. It demoralized him greatly as he faced reality. What was he supposed to do now? A few weeks ago, he had a home, comrades, dreams of his own and a bright future to look forward to. But now all of that was gone, and the only thing left was a wide hole in his chest that threatened to swallow him in an endless chasm of defeat and grief. He felt Nagato and Akino's chakra signatures vanishing from the base, along with those of the Uzumaki children. It would be so easy to give up now. Nagato and Akino would make sure the children survived. He had no family left who would truly miss him. His dreams of peace seemed impossible now on witnessing the traitorous world around him. No. An enraged voice from his subconscious yelled rebelliously with so much fury that it startled him. Why should he die? Were his dreams not worthy for this world? In a time when people did what they wanted, didn't he also have the right to fulfill his desire? Neither Iwa, Kumo, Kiri, Konoha or as a matter of fact any hidden village had a shred of compassion or sympathy for each other. The world was a jungle. The strong survive, the weak die. The Uzumaki had been weak and naive, so they were devoured. I will make my dream a reality, no matter the cost. This I pledge as Naruto Uzumaki, thought Naruto passionately. Orochimaru was actually surprised when a mass of shadows started swirling in front of him. Inside he saw a teenage boy with one red eye staring at him, his face covered by a mask, but nobody could miss his dark red hair. What shocked the Konoha Jonin was the look in the boy's eyes. The gaze of a predator. "Thank you for teaching me something fundamental," said Naruto sincerely. "And what is that?" asked Orochimaru curiously. The boy smirked deviously. "That the absolute truth is useless in this world. The only thing that truly matters is the power to freely accomplish one's dreams," said Naruto calmly. "What's your name, boy?" asked Orochimaru seriously. The redhead simply gave a mysterious smile while raising two of his fingers. Orochimaru instantly prepared for battle. Boom. Multiple explosions started happening across the entire base, and Orochimaru didn't need more than a second to understand what was going on. He instantly looked towards the boy who had almost disappeared back into the shadows. "You'll find out soon enough." With that promise, the boy vanished back into darkness. Orochimaru would have loved to find the brat and teach him a few lessons, but the entire base was crumbling and he would rather prefer not to be crushed by rocks first. So, the enemy had not entered his territory without a backup plan to fall back to, if things went south. Whoever that boy was, he was dangerous and knew some very disturbing dark facts about him and Konoha. But dealing with this situation would have to wait, because he had to first save his own life. "We shall meet again, Uzumaki," promised Orochimaru, and started running madly. Nagato had been staring at the sleeping forms of Akino and the Uzumaki children. The moon shined its sliver light across the earth, while the last remnants of the Uzumaki clan lay protected under a strong barrier. Their escape from the base had not been easy, but Naruto had bought them enough time. He hated his friend for that. To be able to maintain such level-headed thinking even in the worst situations, was a trait only a few shinobi had. Yet it also pointed out the fact that Naruto had no value for his own life. In his eyes he was a simple ninja who was expendable for the greater good. His friend had believed this from the beginning and had lived by it every single day of their lives. Even during the most suicidal missions their team had faced, Naruto had led the charge, took severe injuries but accomplished the mission no matter the cost. Nagato disliked this attitude of his friend, but he understood the reason behind it. Unlike Akino and him, Naruto had went through events that had a deep impact on his life right from the early stages. Lack of parents and family, weariness from his own villagers, and most of all his uncontrollable powers. To overcome these scars, Naruto had devoted himself to the village and preservation of the Uzumaki clan. That was the reason for his existence along with a small personal goal for peace across the elemental nations. A dream which Nagato shared, but one that had been ruthlessly shattered by the drastic chain of events in their lives. The rustling of leaves alerted Nagato instantly, and he turned around only to find Naruto calmly walking towards him. A smile came on the younger boy's face as he rushed towards his masked friend. "I thought you died," said Nagato worriedly, as he looked for any wounds on his friend's body. Fortunately there were only a few scratches. Naruto smiled. "There is only one Naruto Uzumaki, and there will only be one man whose name maybe be remembered for killing me. I wonder who'll be that person," joked Naruto, earning a glare from Nagato. "I am in no mood for your theatrics this time," Naruto warned Nagato, as his friend raised a placating hand in return. "Fine, fine. How are the others?" asked Naruto patiently. Nagato pursed his lips. "I am no medic, but even I can see they are weak. While no external injuries are visible, I can't be sure about any internal injuries. Though I've yet to sense any of them, so I have some hope. Your decision to immediately go after our comrades probably saved their lives," explained Nagato frankly. "I did what was necessary." With that simple answer Naruto started walking towards Akino's sleeping form. Nagato sighed. "Naruto, it isn't a crime to be proud of accomplishing a nearly impossible featuring," advised Nagato, and saw his friend's fist clenching tightly. "If I had been better, so many of our people wouldn't have died. So I shouldn't, whispered Naruto, his eyes low and voice full of guilt. "Naruto, I still desire peace in this world, Nagato." "But," said Naruto hesitantly. "How can you say that after everything that has happened to our village? Our clan? Our comrades?" yelled Nagato furiously. Naruto turned around and sympathetically stared at his friend. Unknown to Nagato, Uzumaki Naruto could clearly feel each and every feeling burning in his friend's heart. Right from the hatred to the grief. "Then what do you propose?" asked Naruto calmly, and saw Nagato giving him an ice-cold gaze. "The only way to achieve peace in this world is by making humanity feel pain. Unless those in power don't know this feeling, wars will keep on happening, proclaimed Naruto. What if I say there's another way, hinted Naruto, with that mesmerizing glint in his eyes. Nagato paused. The anger faded a little, as he furrowed his brows. Naruto usually proposed the most rational plans, keeping the real objectives in mind. It wouldn't cost him anything altis to listen to the idea. Fine, relented Nagato. Naruto smiled. Making sure that the silencing seals were working properly, he explained his dream to his friend, and the way he would move forward towards it. I thought, said Nagato sheepishly, how stupid he had been. Naruto scoffed. You don't think I'll simply spare the ones that destroyed our clan? Asked Naruto irritatedly. So, said Nagato hopefully, but Naruto raised his hand. But you're out of your mind if you think I'll destroy 4 great ninja villages and nearly 60% of the world's population in a mad quest. Mocked Naruto, and was surprised when Nagato looked away. Well, Naruto sighed. Nagato, you have a good heart. But try to think with your brain first and heart later. It'll keep you alive and help you in accomplishing your goals, suggested Naruto. TCH, muttered Nagato. His friends suppressed a chuckle. Despite entering his teens, Naruto knew Nagato was a child in many ways. I swear to you, Nagato, I'll make the culprits of our people pay with their lives, but I won't destroy the world in an act of revenge. Destroying is easy, developing is hard, advised Naruto sagely. You and your quotes. What, were you a historian in your previous life? Teased Nagato. Heh, doesn't sound like a bad idea, agreed Naruto, making Nagato truly smile. Naruto, can we truly have real peace someday? Asked Nagato seriously, and looked his friend straight in the eye. To his credit, Naruto never wavered. He stepped forward toward the younger boy, his steely gaze connecting with Nagato's doubtful gaze. I'll never give up. Nagato's eyes widened. Smiling, Naruto extended his hand towards his friend. Instead of using our powers for destruction, let's use them to change this world into something better. Promise me? Asked Naruto hopefully. Nagato stared at this boy, his right hand automatically rising to meet with the one Naruto had extended towards him. He didn't know what this feeling was that always made him believe in this boy, but it was enough to keep alive the tiny flicker of light in Nagato's heart. Maybe you can save this world. I shall believe in you, Naruto promised Nagato secretly. Outwardly, the younger Uzumaki only gave a nod to his friend. The atmosphere inside the conference room was extremely tense. The people sitting in their comfortable chairs were leaders and considered the best among the masses of Fire Nation. Yet all of them had varied expressions ranging from shock, anger, trepidation, fear and grief. Hiruzen sat in the center, a weary expression visible on his face as he regretfully grasped his forehead. Is this really true? Asked Hiruzen sadly. Positive. The Uzumaki have been completely wiped out, their village destroyed and all inhabitants killed, declared Danzo Shimura. Minato Namikaze stood beside the tired third Hokage along with Jiraiya. The white-haired student of Hiruzen was glancing at the blonde Jounin whose face was a perfect mask of calm and control, yet the clenched fists were enough to show Jiraiya what he needed to see. The Uzukage and all fighters offered a valiant fight to the combined armies of Iwa, Kumo and Kiri. So fierce was the battle that the outnumbered Uzumaki successfully wiped out nearly 30% of the enemy forces before being destroyed, said Danzo respectfully. He may not have been a true fan of that clan, but he respected power. And even in their demise the Uzumaki had provided their worth to Konoha. Shocked gasps were heard across the room as the clan heads and top Jounin and Anbu heard the news. It was a rare feat for any single clan to inflict so much damage against the combined power of 3 great ninja villages. It only highlighted the power of the Uzumaki, a distant relative of the Senju clan. Speaking of which, Tsunade Senju closed her eyes in grief. She may not have shared close bonds with her distant relatives, but they were still family. Were there any survivors, Danzo-sama? Maybe a few could have escaped while the fighters bought them time. Said Minato hopefully. You're right. A few did manage to run towards our borders, but were eventually hunted down and killed. It not only highlights our utter failure in protecting our allies but also points out how vulnerable our own borders are, and the threat that looms over our great village, proclaimed Danzo. My son. Many of the clan heads gasped in shock on hearing Kushina's trembling voice. As far as they were told, the redhead's first child had died on birth. Apparently, that had not been the case. Their eyes shifted towards Hiruzen who sighed. Danzo gave him a stern yet prodding look. The child was a boy. Konoha had always followed a secret treaty with Yuzu known only to the respective cages of each village. In exchange for resources and support, Yuzu would continue to provide us shinobi who can be the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki along with new weapons. However, if the female Uzumaki were to ever conceive a male child, then he was to be immediately handed back to Yuzu, informed Hirozen. A logical way of thinking. A male Uzumaki growing up in Konoha could have easily recreated the clan over the decades, suggested Shibuya Burim, and render Yuzu's importance to us quite bleak, pointed Hayashi Hyuga. If a girl was born to the Uzumaki of Konoha, then too our village would gain a partial Uzumaki clan. However, the descendants of such a child would not be as strong as a true Uzumaki because of the strong genes that can only be passed down through a male. Tsunade is a descendant of Mito, yet her healing powers and longevity pale in comparison to her grandmother, not to mention the sealing arts that were the true power of that clan. Explains Shikaku Nara tactfully. And you allowed this to happen, Hirozen, asked Danzo bitterly, receiving a sharp glare from the third Hokage. That's Hokage-sama to you, Danzo. Don't forget your place, reminded Hirozen. His tone was calm yet the message was clear. Hi, replied Danzo crisply, though a battle of eyes was continuously fought between the two students of Tabirama Senju. It was an honorable treaty which both Hashirama-sama and Tabirama-sama respected. I followed the same principles laid by our great founders, replied Hirozen calmly. Despite the benefits the Uzumaki could have brought to our village, asked Danzo contritely. Before the small conflict could escalate further, Minato stepped forward. His ice-cold gaze glaring down at Danzo. Danzo-sama, while I understand your views to some extent, you don't have any right to question the Hokage. And nor do you have any right to speak of my son as a mere tool. I won't allow that, warned Minato. Many stared at the blonde jounin in shock. There were barely a handful of people in the village who could stand up to Danzo Shimura, much less obstruct the man from speaking his thoughts. It would have been the case with any other shinobi, but Minato was one of the rising stars of Konoha and was said to be the Nidame's successor. So when he spoke, people listened. Danzo subtly saw the clan heads, Jiraiya, Tsunade and many others secretly agreeing with the blonde jounin. I see. It was an inappropriate of me and I apologize, said Danzo curtly. Hirozen instantly narrowed his eyes on seeing the sudden change in his friend's behavior. This was not good. Danzo rarely apologized to anyone, and when he did there would always be some agenda behind it. The Hokage saw the same cautious look in Minato's eyes, and was impressed with him further. The 30-year-old was young but had an intellect that was as sharp as Danzo's. But it still presents the point that Konoha can no longer stay neutral. War is inevitable, declared Danzo. Murmuring quickly he erupted into the chamber, and Hirozen raised his hand preventing a discussing from starting outright. Danzo, we should try to avoid war. The last one had costed us so much, we even lost to Birama-sama, pointed Hirozen, and saw the same cold determination in his friend's eye. Don't be naive, Hokage-sama. Do you think Iwa, Kari and Kumo will simply stop after destroying Yuzu? No, they'll unite and attack us. And when that happens Konoha's destruction will be imminent, warned Danzo. This is all just speculation. Do you have any idea what you are proposing? Asked Jiraiya irritatedly. As a matter of fact, I do. If we do not retaliate it will send a message across the entire world that Konoha easily betrays its allies. More than that, we owe it to Yuzu to inflict justice upon the criminals who slaughtered an entire clan mercilessly, said Danzo passionately. Everyone's gaze shifted towards Kushina, who had barely said anything during the entire meeting. Maybe it was the shock of hearing about her son's demise or the grief that came after, it had frozen her. The redhead had a haunted look in her eyes, a few tears already fallen off her cheeks. Minato grimaced. Even after all these years. Danzo inwardly smiled when most of the people in the room got determined looks in their eyes on seeing the grieving mother. Satisfied he looked towards Hirozen, who gave him an extremely disappointed, hateful look. Let there be war. Kushina kept on running. Away from the council chambers, away from the people, away from everything. Everything had turned dark in her life. Tears freely trickled down her cheeks as she hopped from rooftop to rooftop across Konoha. Her home was gone, her clan destroyed. And her son. She could still remember that tiny little bundle she had been forced to give to the Uzukage. She could still remember how heartbreaking the choice had been, but she had made it for her son. So that he would not have to suffer her fate. So that Konoha would simply not use him as a breeder, or a Jinchuriki successor, or worse as a weapon. Kushina, wait. She had ignored that voice for the past few minutes, even as the person continued to chase after her. Yet, she was forced to stop when Minato appeared in front of her, blocking her way. Unlike her, he didn't have tears. But she had known him for years, and just one glance in his eyes was enough to show her that he shared her feelings, but was better at controlling them. I have nothing to say to you, Minato, said Kushina stiffly. Kushina, said Minato hesitantly. What could he possibly say to her when he himself? Don't worry. I'll fight for this village, even if they failed in saving my family, said Kushina coldly, receiving a glare from the blonde. You know I have never doubted your loyalty, replied Minato sharply, and saw her smile at him cynically. Just go away, Minato. This is the moment for you in this village to shine, your chance to prove your worth to your beloved village. It's just unfortunate that it costed the life of my son. And with those cold words, Kushina vanished. Minato remained frozen in his spot. Only if he had known that a single mistake could cost a man so much, only if he hadn't done what he did, then things could have been different. Only if he was my son too, Kushina. 3 days later, Akino groggily opened her eyes. For a moment panic arose in her heart when she spotted only darkness. But relief soon came when she felt a strong pair of arms wrap her in a warm hug. It relaxed her and brought a few tears in her eyes as she heard his voice. You're safe. It's over. She looked up to see Naruto smiling down at her. The girl's cheeks flushed a little red on seeing how close he was to her, their lips barely a few inches apart from each other. Yet she knew she was safe. As long as she had known Naruto, he had never displayed a hint of romantic feelings for any woman. Sometimes it did make her doubt his sexuality. The boy had shared more bromance moments with Nagato than he had with her. Yet this was refreshing. You done? Asked Naruto bemusedly. Shut up, replied Akino, a smile arriving on her lips. Her eyes then settled on him as he simply stared back at her. In a move which surprised Naruto, she leaned forward and tried to kiss his lips. At the last second, he moved away, making her kiss his cheek instead. Before she could feel embarrassed, Naruto cupped her chin and looked her straight in the eye. You deserve someone better, said Naruto hesitantly, as she looked at him sharply. Let me be the judge of that, replied Akino, some anger seeping into her tone. Naruto slowly got back on his feet and walked a few meters away to stand at the entrance of the cave they were currently taking shelter in. The third great ninja war has started. His words shocked Akino to the core. Her eyes widened as she tried to imagine the consequences of this catastrophe. Konoha has entered into the war to seek revenge for Yuzu. It's rather ironic, but with their arrival Suna would follow. The flames of war would engulf all lands and an era of darkness approaches us all, said Naruto calmly. And whose side are you on? Asked Akino hesitantly, making him smile a little. My own. I am going to fuel this war. Every ninja village is my enemy. My goal is to make each and every one of them suffer terrible losses, because unless their military and economic powers are reduced to rubble, they'll continue to possess the desire and capability to wage wars, explained Naruto frankly. This wasn't what the Uzukage wanted, hinted Akino, and flinched on receiving his sharp glare. He's dead. And I don't have time to linger in regret or ponder what he would have done in this situation. It's up to me now. The sad thing is that unless I wage war, I can't have peace in this world. Akino, I can't give you what you want. Because I don't have the capacity to love. My existence itself was a mistake, said Naruto sadly. Akino lowered her gaze. His words, while harsh, only presented the bitter truth. Births must be controlled by an existence who's either extremely incompetent or extremely sarcastic, said Naruto dryly. Akino saw Naruto's gaze fixed on the Yuzu headband that he was holding in his right palm. Already, I have nothing left to lose, muttered Naruto. He turned around and this time Akino saw raw determination burning in his eyes. A fire that she had never seen before. But even so, I will fight, promised Naruto. The young boy's gaze shifted towards the sky, as the face of his deceased Uzukage smiled down at him from the heavens. To keep my promise to you, and, to gain something to quench this thirst in my heart. Is that a good friend, or a strong enemy? Ninja World, will you fill that role? Akino and Nagato stood beside their best friend and the de facto leader of their small clan. They patiently waited while Naruto keenly studied the map placed in front of him. The dim fire that they had created in the dark cave being the only source of light. The curious young children lay peacefully in another area, happily chatting with each other, trusting their last 3 guardians with their lives. It had been 3 weeks since the start of the Third Great Ninja War. Akino and the captured children had slowly recovered back to full health, while Naruto and Nagato had conducted small raids across nearby villages and gathered necessary resources to sustain the survival of their family. The stolen goods and resources had been deliberately kept low in amount in order to avoid getting under Konoha's radar. Naruto had explained that these minor raids would not only help them in their survival, while also increasing the paranoia of the people of Fire Nation. Nobody ever suspected that the survivors of an extinct clan were the ones doing these mischiefs. Instead, the blame was being firmly laid on Kumo, or in some cases Iwa. The two Chunin had to admit, Naruto had a devious mind when it came to war. It was as if the boy was born to destroy. And judging from the cynical borderline evil grin visible on Naruto's lips made them a little nervous. "Leave it to the Nara to do something like this," commented Naruto. "What do you mean?" asked Akino, a frown visible on the silver-haired girl's face. "Konoha is taking its time to step into this war. Rather than directly attack Iwa, Kari and Kumo, they are organizing their armies. No matter how strong they are, they cannot possibly hope to take on 3 major villages all alone. If my guess is correct, they must have already sent a delegation to Suna," explained Naruto. "But what would Suna gain from allying with Konoha? They are at best cordial to each other," suggested Nagato, but his friend simply smiled. "No major village can avoid this war. Suna is right beside Iwa, and is the weakest among the big 5. The Tsuchikage alone could wipe out more than half of Suna shinobi on his own. While Suna has a strong ninja in the form of the Sandaime Kazekage, he is just one man. Fear and anxiety are common in war, and the Kazekage would rather ally himself with the pacifist and stable heroes in Sarutobi rather than face this world war alone," explained Naruto with a smile. "That does make sense," said Akino in a surprised voice. "We can't allow that to happen. Neither can we afford Suna to stay neutral. If even one of the major villages remained strong after this war, then our entire cause would have failed," warned Nagato, getting a nod from his friends. "Correct, Nagato. That is precisely why we will destroy this budding alliance," declared Naruto, a cold look visible in his eyes. "Huh?" asked his friends in unison, making Naruto raise 3 fingers. He spent the next few minutes explaining the mission to his friends, and by the time he was finished both of them were staring at him with a mix of awe and shock. "Is there a problem?" asked Naruto quietly. "No, it's just," said Akino hesitantly, and flinched when Naruto's gaze bore down on her. "We are an assassination squad. The 3 of us are the closest Anbus Yuzu ever had. Most of all, have you forgotten how every one of these villages played a part in destroying our village and our clan?" asked Naruto harshly. "He's right. There is no room for sympathy. We must remain focused on the real objective, which is peace," insisted Nagato fiercely. Akino nodded. "Nagato, I want you to stay here and protect these children. I can't afford another mistake, and I know you can do it," said Naruto seriously. Akino smirked. The way Naruto had worded his will had left very little room for Nagato to protest. Yet the boy did that regardless. "Don't tell me you plan to do this solo?" asked Nagato incredulously. Naruto shook his head. "Akino will be my partner for this operation. And it's just like you said, the only thing that matters is our mission, or have you changed your mind?" asked Naruto. Nagato flinched. "We will be back within a week. Don't conduct any raids until then. Stay here and protect our people. And most of all, start teaching them the basics of ninja arts," instructed Naruto. "You want me to babysit and teach? Are you insane?" asked Nagato worriedly. Akino chuckled. "Maybe. But you are the only one among the 3 of us who has the patience and talent to teach others. Start training the ones who are fit to be a ninja. For those who don't have the talent, focus on teaching them the ways to make scrolls, stocking weapons, tailoring, and medical ninjutsu. We may not have the numbers, but I won't allow these children to be weak again. When the next time they face the enemy, I want them to fight like true Uzumaki instead of crying out in fear and despair," explained Naruto harshly. "They are so young," said Nagato hesitantly, as he glanced at the 10-year-old boys and girls. Akino saw a brief flash of regret, sadness, and guilt pass through Naruto's eyes. He hid it well enough to prevent Nagato from noticing, but she could see that he was hurting from the inside. Just like the rest of them. Only the victors are allowed to live. "This world is merciless like that," said Naruto, a haunted look visible in his eyes. "Naruto." The boy closed his eyes and turned away. The next time he spoke, his voice had the same iciness and determination present in them. "Akino, prepare for the mission. We move in half an hour, and Nagato, in case we don't make it back, then I've left instructions for you in this scroll. Don't open it until absolutely necessary," warned Naruto, and tossed the scroll to his friend. "What is in it?" asked Nagato curiously, as he observed the small black-colored object. "Something which I was supposed to use if I ever got in trouble. A safety measure given by my father. Akino and Nagato went wide-eyed on hearing that. Their shocked stares were fixed on Naruto's back. All their lives their friend had pretended not knowing his father. Wordlessly, Naruto walked away after relaying that information. Clearly not willing to share any more information, and his friends reluctantly didn't pursue him on this revelation. What a fucked up family, said Nagato, with a heavy sigh. Just pray that they never meet face to face, replied Akino wearily. Why? Asked Nagato, and saw a terrified expression arriving in the silver-haired girl's eyes. It might just start another world war. Akino was currently lying idly beneath the shade of a large tree. The cool breeze hit her face, occasionally making her smile, while her eyes were fixed on the masked boy who was busy going through their mission gear. She had to admit, he had been planning this operation for quite some time. Why me? Her sudden question made him stop momentarily. He glanced at her for a second. Their gazes met and he understood what was the true meaning behind those words. Apart from the fact that your skills are more suitable than Nagato in this task, I want you as my partner. To keep me in control, admitted Naruto, his gaze lowering a little. And why is that? Asked Akino coolly. Because you have a heart, I don't. I always tend to focus towards our ultimate goal and tend to disregard the way we achieve it. I might even not hesitate to kill innocents for this task, especially when I use my dark powers. This risk greatly increases as I don't have full control. Nagato carries a lot of hatred in his heart and might not be determined and capable enough of stopping me. But you can. Don't let me become a monster, Akino requested Naruto. She got back on her feet and came beside him. Placing a hand on his shoulder, she gave him a proud smile. The fact that you know this is enough proof that you will not become the monster you fear. And neither will I let you become one, promised Akino. He smiled. Thanks. Akino couldn't help but notice the fact that he had a nice smile. He may have rejected her feelings, but she could barely accept such a decision of a person who hardly even understood his own pain. So, she would wait. Instead of pushing him further, she would support him as a loyal friend and comrade. And maybe a few years later, when all of this madness was over and their dream of peace was a reality, then. Maybe. It was a slim chance. But a girl could hope. Naruto saw the silence was stretching for far too long and instantly pointed his finger towards the gear he had placed near their feet. Akino was thankful for the diversion and shifted her attention towards the Konoha Anbu uniform that lay across her feet. Where did you get this? Asked Akino in surprise. Black markets can offer you a lot of interesting things, for a right price. And these are war times, getting things like these is much easier now, clarified Naruto. Clever. You know, if this plan works, then each village will fight against the other. What are your future plans? Asked Akino curiously. One step at a time, Akino, stated Naruto frankly. She smirked. You are a dangerous general. Naruto smiled. That I am. Nagi Hyuga was keenly observing the dense forest around him. For the past half an hour, he and his partner Kenji Yamanaka had been patrolling the borders of Fire Country. With a world war going on across the lands, their task had become highly important. So far things were normal and he had not come across any enemy forces trying to enter their borders. That was a good sign. His Byakugan was watching each and every sector and he was rudely shocked when an Anbu appeared right behind him. He yanked backwards to defend only to see that it was one of Konoha's special forces soldier. And he had a scroll in his hand. How did I not see him? Thought Nagi worriedly. Heh, you Anbus are always so sneaky. But I admit, getting a jump on a Hyuga is damn impressive, congratulated Kenji. Nagi focused his Byakugan on the young teenage Anbu. While Konoha didn't officially accept such young children into such a dark unit, that was not the case with the secret force that he had heard rumors about. Root. Information was scarcely available on this unit, but what Nagi did know that many young teens were a part of that group. The only reassurance he had was that they were on Konoha's side. He was so engrossed in his thoughts that he reacted a second late when the Anbu raised his finger and Kenji went still. Nagi pressed a fast strike straight towards this enemy's heart, only to freeze the next moment. Dark chakra started surrounding the young Anbu, and Nagi trembled in fear on seeing one of the eyes of the boy turning demonic red in color. Dajirayajin, dark illusions. The fear and anxiety within Nagi's heart skyrocketed to maddening levels as he saw several Suna shinobi approaching towards Fire Nation. Combine that with Hirozen Sarutobi's desperate voice to retaliate, brutally screaming in his head, made him angry and determined. Naruto exerted more of his will, driving the Jinjutsu trapped Hyuga in his own nightmare dream world. His meeting allowed him the ability to sense people's emotions, and allowed him to manipulate them to a certain extent. More specifically, fear, anger, hatred, sorrow, anxiety were his weapons. Instead of invading any physical parts of a person's body, he attacked at the most vulnerable one: psychological. Although there was a drawback to this technique. Since he could feel and manipulate those dark emotions of his enemy, he himself was experiencing them, and it took everything in his power not to kill them right away. Just as Nagi was thinking about different ways to kill Suna Ninja, while the Yamanaka was trapped in his own nightmare. Most of all, it took a lot of chakra. After a few more minutes of inner torture, the ninjas broke and knelt before Naruto. Trapped in their own nightmares, the two were nothing but puppets waiting to be used by a puppeteer. And Naruto intended to do that. Hyuga, regroup with the rest of your squad. Attack the closest Suna outpost and destroy our enemies, commanded Naruto fiercely. Yes, I will stop them from attacking our great nation, pledged Nagi. The Hyuga quickly ran away to complete his new orders. The effects of that genjutsu would barely last for 4 hours, but being this close to the border, Naruto knew the damage would have already been done. Naruto turned towards the Yamanaka, who stared back at him blankly. The Uzumaki was thankful that these ninja had been mere chunin. His techniques, while effective, lacked the power to overwhelm powerful jounin and anbus. But with time and training, Naruto intended to perfect this art. He was an assassin, after all. Relay this message back to all border patrols, instructed Naruto. The Yamanaka nodded. All units, code, Omega, under, attack, by, Suna, heavy, losses, Naruto silenced the terrified Yamanaka by slicing his throat. The man gurgled, and the Uzumaki was sure that this sound would also be heard by the nearby Konoha forces. The message had been sent. Stage 1 complete. Time to move to Stage 2, thought Naruto seriously. Placing a finger on the communication device hidden inside his ear, he connected with his partner, who was conducting a different exercise in a nearby area. Akino, report. A moment's silence followed before a feminine voice replied over the communication device in a calm tone. Objectives accomplished. I've eliminated few chunin, genjutsu'd a few, and sent them on a suicide charge towards Suna posts. What about you? Asked Akino quickly. Done. Stage 1 is complete. Konoha itself will handle Stage 2 of our plan. Rendezvous with me and we'll finish the last part, ordered Naruto. You know, you might have scared an entire nation with this move, replied Akino. Naruto smiled cynically. Let's see how a cornered animal reacts. Utter chaos and mayhem prevailed in the regional command headquarters. Communications specialists were reporting incursion after incursion. The tactical board was being bombarded by continuous shifting of enemy movements. The Konoha forces near the Wind Country's border being engaged or retaliating. Taji Uchiha grit his teeth in frustration and anger. Give me a full report, now. Barked the veteran Uchiha, his dark-colored eyes intimidating his subordinates. Sir, Squads 67 and 68 are eliminated. Squads 44, 48, 50 are retaliating. We are still trying to get into contact with others, replied his second-in-command, a female Yamanaka. Taji slammed his hand on the table in frustration. There can be only two possible scenarios. Either a large-scale invasion force is striking at multiple locations, or Suna Anbu are striking at lightning-fast speed in order to pave a way for the main invasion force. Deduced Taji worriedly. What do we do, Taji-sama? Asked one of his subordinates. The gray-haired Uchiha remained silent for a few minutes, his calculative mind going through various decisions he could make. In the end, he went with the most tactfully suitable plan. Tell our squads to fall back and regroup. It's better to consolidate our assets and wait for reinforcements. If this is an invasion staged by Suna, then I highly doubt individual squads would be able to offer much resistance against a larger enemy force. Contact High Command in Konoha, inform them about the situation immediately, instructed Taji. His subordinates quickly nodded and went to carry out his orders. The Hokage is not going to like this, thought Taji hesitantly. Taji-sama. The old Uchiha was brought of his thoughts by the alarmed response of his second-in-command. Walking towards the blonde female Yamanaka, he looked her right in the eye. What is it? Miki asked Taji, and saw a petrified look visible in her eyes. Our communications have been sabotaged, replied Miki hesitantly, and flinched when a murderous look arrived in the Uchiha's eyes. How the hell? We'll remedy it later. Use your mind powers to reach Konoha. Barked Taji furiously. That is too far from my range. Only Inoichi-sama can communicate such long-range messages, replied Miki worriedly, making her superior even more mad. Damn it. What good are you? Gah. Forget it, contact our regional headquarters. Find out if they are in the same mess as we are, ordered Taji. Hi. As soon as the young girl went away, Taji took a deep breath to rein in his emotions. It wouldn't be good if he lost his cool in such a desperate situation. They had already been on edge ever since their village decided to participate in this world war. This sudden invasion had already sent almost all of his soldiers and even him into a panic. Taji summed all their feelings in 3 simple words. What a mess. Akino watched with a bated breath as her eyes witnessed a fire of panic, fear, anger and desperation start infecting an entire nation. She had done everything she was ordered to do, right from killing a few Chunin squads and sabotaging regional communication in the entire area. It had not been easy, but for a former assassin it was possible. Beside her, Naruto stood peacefully on the branch of the tall tree. His calm, cold, calculative eyes watching in deep satisfaction as his own plot started producing results. What is his ultimate goal? To destroy the 5 great nations? Recreate Yuzu? Create an empire? Get justice for the Uzumaki? Achieve peace through war. These were all the tip of the infinite questions that plagued Akino's mind. She would follow and support Naruto regardless of his choices and decisions, yet she just couldn't understand this shinobi. It was no secret to her that Naruto was strong. But his real power had always been his calculative mind and cunning. You see, Akino, bringing change is not that difficult in this world, you just gotta have the will to bring the change. Said Naruto, his tone cynical. The ninja world will not crumble so easily to your whims, warned Akino. He smirked as his eyes observed the world before him. Something that's supposed to die and doesn't, will eventually rot away, whether it's a man or nation. Akino remained frozen in her spot as Naruto turned around. A silence followed between them, and after a few seconds she spoke. Is it over? Naruto closed his eyes and smiled. I'm just getting started. A pair of dark eyes had been observing the redhead Uzumaki. Ever since the fall of Yuzu, he had followed the boy at every moment. At first it was the desire to hunt his prey, but Konoha Shinobi soon enough took care of that. Curiosity got the best of him and he continued his pursuit, witnessing the changes in the Uzumaki boy. Instead of cursing their dark world like a brat, the boy called Naruto had wholeheartedly adapted to the change. Naruto may be young and not much powerful today, but the man could see that the Uzumaki boy had a mind that could rival even the most veteran shinobi. The boy's ideology had finally matched with the man who was currently observing him, and witnessing the mayhem spreading across Fire Nation made him grin in satisfaction. He truly is chaos incarnate, thought the man curiously. On hearing Naruto's last declaration and watching the boy go away along with his lackey made the man speak for the first time. Humans are so interesting. Minato Namikaze numbly sat on one of the large trees situated inside the Forest of Death. Secluded from the rest of the world, the blonde Jounin's eyes were fixed on the picture of a young masked boy. There was a small cross beneath that picture in the bingo book, a sign that Konoha had recently updated. The Shadow. He always liked that nickname his son had earned for himself over the years. Even though Naruto was listed as a mere chunin in the bingo book, there was a caution at the bottom regarding the boy's ability to surprise and turn tables. He had always been proud of this trait which his son had inherited from him. Despite all evidence pointing towards the demise of Naruto, the father knew that was no the case. Some might say that it was Minato's delusion as a way of coping with grief. And he would have believed that too, if not for the last conversation he had with the boy. Over the years since their separation, Minato had tried to stay in touch with his son through letters since he was not allowed to visit Yuzu. There was only one reply from Naruto over the years, the letter Minato was holding in his other hand which had a few words written on it. Words that haunted the Namikaze every day. Even when I was in a crowd, I was always alone. Those words were sharper than any blade, more painful than any wound. He could only imagine the type of life his son had lived that made him utter such heartbreaking words. And yet the eyes that stared at him from the photograph of the bingo book screamed of ambition. A large one at that. He still remembered that single one-on-one conversation he had with his boy, flashback a few months ago. Minato patiently observed the surprise visible on his young son's face. Standing in one of the marshes surrounding Yuzu, the guard Chunin was extremely stunned to see a Konoha Jounin entering their territory in such a sneaky manner, much less his own father. With speed unforeseen, Minato had easily knocked out the two Chunin border patrol guards who were with Naruto and now stood before the boy. "What are you doing here, Jounin?" asked Naruto icily, his tanto pointed towards the blonde ninja. Minato grimaced. Those cold words hurt a lot, but deep down he knew he deserved them. So, instead he decided to remain patient. "Do you know who I am?" asked Minato, a hopeful expression visible in his eyes. "My biological creator had said that you were the donor that helped facilitate my existence. Nothing more, nothing less," replied Naruto, making his father flinch considerably. The way Naruto had said those words had left very little to imagination as to what the boy felt in his heart. Despite expecting such a response while coming here, it still hurt Minato to hear them regardless. "I suppose I earned that remark," said Minato apologetically, and gave a sad smile to his redhead son. Naruto's startling blue-colored eyes shined with hostility, yet he did the unthinkable when he lowered his tanto and sighed. "I give you this one chance to walk away, if only for the unfortunate fact that I exist because of you," said Naruto calmly, making Minato raise one of his eyebrows. "You think you can defeat me?" asked the father curiously, and was surprised to see the boy shake his head. "It would be foolish to assume so. However, that doesn't mean that I won't offer a valiant fight. I am a ninja of Yuzu and you are illegally setting foot in my nation. It is my duty to stop you, no matter what relation we unfortunately share," explained Naruto logically, his voice bitter. Minato smiled. "It seems you are wise than most people your age. Rest assured, I am not here to harm your nation. I came here to see you," said Minato honestly, making the boy frown. "There was no need for such a farce," replied Naruto flatly. Minato lowered his head in guilt. "You're my son," Naruto said Minato softly, and saw the boy's fists clench tightly as he fought hard to control his emotions. Yet Minato sensed the temperature going cold and killing intent started spreading. "Just don't. It has taken me years to understand and accept the reality of my life. I don't hold you guilty for what you did. Just like I am a ninja of my village, you are a ninja of your village. Soldiers are meant to serve nation first, then society, then their comrades, and if it is possible then themselves in the end," stated Naruto with conviction. Minato could not help but stare at his son with pride in his eyes. "You've become an admirable ninja," Naruto praised Minato. Despite the bitter feelings, those words made the boy pause. For a few moments a strange look arrived in Naruto's eyes, and that was all Minato needed to see. It helped lift a great burden from the father's heart. His son didn't hate him, and was simply indifferent towards his father. Minato could try to live with that. "I came here to congratulate you for passing the Chunin exams and acing them as well. You are a Chunin now. I know I have no right to even speak with you, yet I wanted to wish you luck in your life," said Minato seriously. "You don't have excused Naruto," but the father raised his hand. Minato bent down and placed a scroll on the ground and saw Naruto becoming alert. Inwardly, he was happy to see that his son had kept his guard up even now. It was a trait of a fine shinobi. "I know I have failed you, Naruto. And there is nothing I can say or do that can make up for it, but if you're ever in trouble, open this scroll," instructed Minato. "And why would I do that?" asked Naruto skeptically, and saw a sad smile arriving on the father's face. "I am your father, Naruto. Despite everything, I love you with everything in my heart. The iciness and contempt in Naruto's eyes wavered and the boy quickly closed those startling blue orbs. He pointed his tanto in the opposite direction, away from Yuzu. "You should go," whispered Naruto. Minato nodded. With a heavy heart he started walking. Even in Yuzu nobody except for the Uzukage knew that Minato was the boy's father. Kushina had also kept this fact a much guarded secret even in Konoha. Then a question arose in his heart that made the tall blonde stop, and look back towards his son who was walking back towards his unconscious comrades. "Why do you fight, Naruto?" asked Minato curiously. The boy stopped. With his back turned towards his father, the young redhead glanced up towards the sky full of stars and the bright shining moon. "To gain the strength to freely accomplish my dreams. One could also say that it's the power not to take orders from people whom I despise or don't agree with, to be the master of my own life. Minato was left speechless by those words. It was his turn to stare at his son in surprise. Nobody knew it, but those words had changed Minato Namikaze completely. They gave birth to his dream. The reason he couldn't keep custody of his own son. The reason he failed in saving Kushina from such a pain was because of the fact that he had been helpless and weak as a mere chunin all those years ago. Compared to the Kages who made the decisions, Minato had been powerless. And on that day, Minato Namikaze had made a pledge to himself and the world. Naruto, I don't know where you are right now. But one day, I'll win the entire universe for you. With those determined words, the Namikaze got back on his feet and started walking away. A world war had started, and he would make sure Konoha emerged as the true victor, which would ultimately pave the way for accomplishment of his dreams. Though if there was one thing that Minato knew for sure was the fact that he would meet his son one day again. Kushina had been fondly caressing the photograph of her young son in her soft hands. The Uzukage had recently sent her a picture of Naruto dressed in his Chunin uniform, a tanto fixed on his back and his face covered by a face mask. He looked so handsome. Yet at the same time, she didn't miss the cold, hollow eyes that stared at her from the picture. It were the eyes of someone who had never experienced love, and that fact too was forgotten with the sands of time. What she was looking at now was a determined and devoted assassin, whose only reason for existence was to serve Yuzu. Live for the village, die for the village. Her son had sworn that oath when he took up that uniform. Such path of violence and darkness was not something she wished for him, and yet it had happened. It was not as if she had tried to break away from him. It was the complete opposite. She had sent so many letters, pictures of her and Minato, and so many more presents on his birthday. And she only received silence in return. All these years right up to. She had never cursed her destiny as a Jinchuriki so much as today, to lose the most precious thing in her miserable existence. Naruto had been the one good thing that happened to her, and she threw him away. She could have fought harder, made more efforts too. If only she had done that, her son would have been alive today. Due to her and Minato's mistakes, Naruto lived a lonely life devoid of a family. And in the end, he died alone. She could still remember that dark night when a squad of Anbu forcefully took her child away from her. The Hokage and the Uzukage had witnessed the exchange with a complete professional look in their eyes. A teenaged Minato had also been standing beside Jiraiya. Unlike Kushina, he was not crying, and instead had his eyes closed. His fists had been clenched so tightly, and he never looked at her despite her pleas for help. The last memory of that dark night that she remembered was Naruto's crying voice, and then something hit her followed by darkness. Her only reason to exist now was to destroy the ones who killed her only son. She would use every ounce of her power and hatred to inflict carnage upon the 3 cowardly villages who had destroyed her clan, her people, her village and her son. The wooden walls cracked due to the killing intent she had been radiating, and it would have escalated further if not for the series of rapid knocks on her door. Snarling, she got up and started walking towards the door. Hadn't she told those annoying Anbu that unless there was a mission she was not to be disturbed? I told you to leave me alone. Kushina couldn't complete her words as she saw the person standing at her doorstep with a wide, innocent smile on his face. Naruto stood on top of one of the large sand dunes, currently lying steadily in the sand. He simply observed the large structure before him. Akino was beside him, and the two of them were waiting for the bright moon in the sky to hide for a while, and that would be the moment they attacked. Akino had been silent all the time, only talking when Naruto responded. It had been 3 days since their attacks in Fire Nation, and the flames of war would now envelop 2 great nations tonight. Why is this world so twisted, Akino? She would have missed his question if she was not so alert right now. Even then, those words coming from Naruto of all people surprised her. Akino turned towards him, and saw a vulnerable look in his eyes. I wonder if my actions will change anything in this world. Or will they be just as meaningless as my own existence? Asked Naruto. Naruto. I want to achieve peace through force. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I want to believe that what I am doing today will help in making people understand each other. Said Naruto, his voice soft and expression numb. I think people can only understand things that they've actually experienced, suggested Akino, and saw him smile a little. I understood what loneliness meant, and now I know what happiness and sadness means. What revenge means, what hatred means. But I don't know peace, Akino confessed Naruto, making her smile ruefully. Neither does the world know, suggested Akino, giving him an encouraging smile. Then I want to learn what peace is and teach it to the world as well. That's why even if the world rejects me, I'll keep on fighting, promised Naruto. Naruto blinked when Akino gently entwined her hand with his. He turned towards her and saw a strange light burning in her eyes. He froze when she looked back at him. Then let's fight together. To learn peace. Both of them shared firm nods. Akino was startled when Naruto pulled her towards him and wrapped her in his arms. She placed her hands on his back. I'm never letting you go again. No words could describe how happy and satisfied she felt on hearing him say that. She knew the terror she had experienced when she was captured by those Konoha scum, and could only try to imagine what Naruto felt. He was the leader of their group of survivors, and he may not admit that out loud, but deep down he considered himself responsible for all those deaths. People often mistook him as the most strongest person in their team, while as a shinobi he was, but as a human he was the weakest of the trio. For Naruto, Nagato and Akino had been the closest thing he had to a family. "You aren't getting rid of me that easily," Naruto teased Akino, as he gently broke the HUD. He stood back on his feet and calmly observed the large Suna Dam in front of them. The modern invention was one of Suna's most crucial assets that was the lifeline of nearly 20% of its population. And Naruto was aware of the consequences of a direct attack on this place. For a few seconds, his grip on his tanto wavered as he tried to imagine the kind of suffering he would be inflicting on this world. Reforms, no matter how great or small, are never painless or without sacrifices. Akino saw his trembling stop as he took a deep breath. Naruto's blue eyes glanced at the now darkened sky. "You guys may be satisfied with this world. I'm not." With those determined words, Naruto Uzumaki, dressed in the uniform of Konoha Anbu, now placed a bird mask on his face. Sharing one last glance with his fellow partner, he charged towards the dam. Akino quickly performed a set of hand seals and bit her thumb, followed by slamming her right hand on the sand. Kuchiyo's no jutsu summoning technique. The silver-haired girl soared quickly into the dark sky as the vulture carried her higher and higher. The large creature easily camouflaged itself in the dark skies as Akino pointed her hand forward. "Ultras, we shall support him. Sync with me," commanded Akino, and joined her hands together. The large predatory bird cawed in response, signifying its acceptance of the order. Akino started channeling her chakra into the aerial summon as the bird quickly started flapping its wings wildly. On the ground, a pair of Suna Chunin guarding the outskirts of the dam saw a large sandstorm brewing at a distance. "Tell the others to take shelter," instructed the senior Chunin. "Will do." "Man, what a mess. I'll also inform the engineers to take protective measures to safeguard the water," suggested the other Chunin. "You do that. Inform the guards not to mess around in this storm, they can be deadly." Roger. As soon as the younger Chunin went off to carry his orders, the senior Chunin turned back only to see a human figure emerge from the shadows. A permanent horrified expression was etched in the Chunin's eyes as his head was severed off before he could scream a warning. Naruto quickly took cover behind the walls of the dam, as the blood of the now dead Chunin started drenching the sand. What most people didn't know was the fact that he had been one of the candidates selected to be a part of Yuzu's first Anbu force. Only the Uzukage and his few aides knew this fact apart from the shinobi who were chosen for this unit. Unfortunately, their training was never fully completed and the village was destroyed. He could only imagine how different things could have been if Yuzu had developed an Anbu force just months before its last moments. It was one of their grave errors. Regardless of those mistakes, it didn't change the fact that Naruto had the skills and intelligence to perform assassination and infiltration missions. Talents he would be using tonight. He raised two of his fingers and four shadow clones of him appeared beside him, all of them having the same cold, calculated look in their eyes. "The enemy is taking shelter from the sandstorm Akino is creating. But she can't maintain it for long, we only have a 5-minute window to execute our mission," instructed the real Naruto. "Should we go in and eliminate the enemy forces? They'll be easy to kill now that they are hiding in shelters," suggested one clone. "That would take too much time," warned another clone. "The longer we take, the more Akino's chakra will get used up. We must keep her in mind as well," informed another clone. "If we attract too much attention, then the Suna forces will follow us. And we'll simply get trapped between theirs and approaching Konoha forces," warned the last clone. Before the clones could further continue their discussion, their original creator took out 4 scrolls from his pouch and handed one to each of them. "Spread out in all directions, place them across these points," informed Naruto, and pointed the directed points on the map. "Now." The clones quickly saluted and started stealthily running in different directions to accomplish their objectives. Naruto placed his own scroll near one of the dam's giant walls. He then placed his finger on the communication device in his ear. "Akino, how are you doing?" asked Naruto worriedly. "It is taking more chakra than I expected, but I can go on," insisted Akino, making her friend grimace. "Understood." As soon as he cut off the link, he cautiously looked around for any signs of Suna forces. He saw the sandstorm which Akino was generating with her summon's help was closing towards the dam slowly and slowly. Since this was an actual event rather than an illusion, it had been enough to convince the Suna forces that they were not under attack and had calmly taken shelter. The Sand Village had been on edge these past few days, since Konoha was building up massive armed battalions near their borders. However, since they were allies, no official battle had been initiated by Sand Village. With this, all bets would be off the table. War will be inevitable, thought Naruto grimly. He didn't like what he was doing, and deep down some part of his heart knew this was wrong. Yet he couldn't stop. He refused to be a part of a stagnant world where humanity was out of control. War could never be eradicated, that much was certain. What he could do was limit its occurrences and the need for it. Ninjas were mercenaries who fought for money, resources, and for their own desires. Except for a selected few, most of the ninja were dishonorable and worse than scum. It was his lifelong mission to eliminate such warmongering thugs and bring forth nations, military, and citizens that were more responsible, compassionate and understanding towards each other. It was easier said than done, but he knew that it was not impossible. And if it could be done, then he was willing to bear every sin for that dream of peace. All charges set. The voice of his Clonus over the communication channel felt like the hammer of the gods descending from the heavens. It was easy to slaughter people when you're out of control, but extremely difficult when a person is completely in control of himself. Nobody knew this fact better than Naruto. Many people had lost their lives whenever his dark powers ran wild. Even as an assassin he had killed people. But what he was about to do now was something much, much larger and destructive. He was instigating war between two nations which would lead to death, destruction, sorrow and loss to millions of people. In the end, he was not different from the ninja thugs whom he loathed. What shocked him was the fact that he had been fine with living in such a twisted world as long as he was safe. But when that had changed, he too had changed. It made him realize how wrong the world was, how wrong he had been, and the desperate need for change in the world. Nagato had been right in a way. He could only understand these things once he experienced that pain. For people to understand each other, they had to realize their mistakes like him. Just like the slaughter of his clan taught Naruto his mistakes, he would try to teach the world its errors. He quickly started retreating away from the dam's borders, and soon enough raised two of his fingers slowly. Boom. From the corner of his eyes, he saw the structure starting to collapse slowly and the water spreading in every possible direction. The cries of the horrified Suna ninjas and civilians rang in his ears. Akino had been waiting for him at the end. The sandstorm along with her summon had been stopped as she watched the destruction they had inflicted on an entire nation with their actions. "We finally did it, didn't we?" asked Akino hesitantly. "Yeah," replied Naruto, his gaze fixed on the dark sky. "If you fight, people die. If you don't, even then they die. I guess it's true. There's no right or wrong in this world," confessed Akino. Naruto's eyes widened as his sensory powers warned him of something massive approaching their way. Turning around, his worst fears finally came true as he quickly brought his tanto forward to block a strike from the grinning man. "You're damn right, brats." And guys, this is the end. I hope you guys enjoyed. See you next video.